Hey guys, hey Cash. I decided instead of doing the screenshots to show the options that I would do a video because that's generally going to be easier. Okay, so you're going to open up the GUI here and you'll see that up here your Mobius will show up. You select that and then you're ready to go. And I'm going to go over the options. I may skip some and I'm going to be quick with it. Try to, because there's a lot of options. And one thing to remember is if you hover over any option, you can it's going to tell you exactly what each one does, and it does a pretty good job of it. So let's start here in basic settings with sync date and time on your Mobius camera. If you're going to use it in a dash cam mode, and it doesn't really matter, that's pretty obvious with if you do not want the date and time to appear on the video, you're going to select no, and obviously yes if you do, and keep mine on yes. For the lens type, there are various lens types and they expand the field of view. The FOV, the standard one that most everyone gets is going to be lens A. If you get one with a wider field of view lens, it's going to have a bit of a fisheye distortion effect to it, not much, and that's the lens B. They actually came out with a lens C here recently, but if you got one of those two, you're going to know about it and you'll pick one of those two. Otherwise, lens A is it. All three of mine have the lens A, and it's plenty wide for a dash cam. Artificial light frequency, that's going to be the frequency of the power, basically, of you can use whatever your AC power in your home uses, and basically if you live in the United States, you're going to pick 60 hertz. Europe, I believe, is 50 hertz. I'm not completely sure about that, but you should know, and if you don't, just search it out. Recording indicator, that's self-explanatory. That is the LED. I keep mine on, and the only reason is because in the previous video you saw with my install, I have it hidden. So the actual blinking LED while it's on, I cannot see. Even at night, I cannot see. So I keep mine on, so for a peace of mind I can look up under and I can always tell that it's working. But to note, it has never not worked. It has never not shown the recording indicator. So if you can see it or it bugs you, turn it off. Or if you don't want people to know that it's on, you want to make it more discreet, I think probably the more popular option is going to be off. USB data port charging, you're going to want this always to be on, otherwise it will not charge the battery when you have your car on. Also, when you plug it into a computer, it will not charge, so you're going to want that on. File systems for cards greater than 32 gigabytes. I keep mine on file allocation table 32, FAT32. If you have a card larger, just hover over this and read, and that will tell you what you need to do. If you have a 32 gigabyte or smaller, that's fine. Date format up here, that's self-explanatory as well. I have mine on year, month, and day. That's default, I believe. Actually, this is pretty much standard in the US. The middle one, date, month, year, and then other parts, month, date, and year, is different. Actually, I correct myself here. I stand correct. Month, date, day, and year is the standard in the United States, and this is standard elsewhere, and then so on. I believe this is default. Power on default. That is the mode it will go into when you start your car. Okay. It's got video mode 1, video mode 2, and the photo mode is irrelevant for a dash cam. So video mode 1's here, video mode 2's here. They're the same options. I suggest keeping it on video mode 1 just for ease of it's just easier that way. And then power on delay. Read the little box. I keep mine on fast. It doesn't really matter. It is what it says. It defines how long the power button has to be pressed before the camera turns on. So the delay just makes it where if you have it in your pocket, it takes longer to turn it on via the power button. Obviously, these are being used for dash cam, so it doesn't matter. Power on auto record. I keep mine on both. I would suggest you do it on both, or at least external only. If you do not have it on one of these two, it will not start recording automatically when you turn your car on. Okay, because it's self-explanatory. If it's off, it will never record with the power on. With the button only, it will only start recording when you press the physical button on the camera. With external only, it will do it whenever you start your car, and with both, it will do it no matter what you do, push the button or the car turns on. So I keep it on both. Power off standby. I keep it on 30 seconds. Turns on and off and auto shutdown when the camera is in standby mode for a selected period of time. This is really not relevant for dash cam either, so your options really don't matter here, but I just keep it on 30 seconds. That's probably the default, I'm not sure. Power off disconnect. Keep it on right away. So when it'll power off when the car shuts off. It doesn't just stay on and keep recording for 10 seconds or whatever. Miscellaneous settings. Motion detect. I keep mine off. You can play with that if you want. It won't hurt anything. I did have it on for just a bit just to see how it worked. I found it didn't really work that well for me, and it's going to detect motion while your car is off, and it will cut the camera on depending on the sensitivity level that you set it at. Obviously low is going to cut it on it's going to take a lot of motion to cut the camera on, turn it on, and so on. It didn't work well for me, but that doesn't mean that you won't like it, so you can mess with this. The only thing I will warn you about is this will drain your battery because your car is not on. So, use the options, read the boxes. Over here, this is not relevant to a dash cam. This is for a video out to a TV. This is webcam mode. You're not using a webcam when you're doing dash cam, and this is rotating the webcam. Irrelevant, don't worry about it. Mode 1, okay. This is the video or sound file type. You have 3 types here. They're all going to work fine up here for video. I've personally used .mov and .mp4. They both produce the same file size, the same quality, everything's the same. So pick whichever one you want. I believe .mov is the default. If you pick wave only, wave, it's only going to record sound and not video. So don't pick that unless that's what you want for some reason. Audio recording. If you want your camera muted, turn it off. Otherwise, keep it on. Video timestamp. If you don't want the time on, turn it off. Otherwise, keep it on. Rotate video. This is important. Most of the time when you mount your dash cam, if you've seen a video of how mine is mounted, it's going to be upside down. If you're looking up at your dash cam and say it's mounted behind the rear view mirror or somewhere on your windshield, generally the mount's going to be up against the windshield, and the thread, the 1/4 inch thread, is going to be facing down. So when the camera screws onto it, the buttons are going to be on the bottom. If the buttons are on the bottom, the camera is upside down. So you want this rotate video to be on 180 degrees so the video is right side up. Okay? If you, for some reason, you've mounted it in a way where the buttons are on top, have that on no. For obvious reasons. Loop recording. Casher, you asked about this. Loop recording, you definitely want it on. That's for dash cam. That's the main purpose of it. So it will record all the way till the end of your video card size, or not your video card, but your micro SD card size. And then once it gets to the end of it, fills that up, it will start recording at the oldest file, which will be 001, and then it will continue to 002, 003, and so on until you pull the camera or the SD card out and remove the footage or delete the footage. So keep that on. Video data rate, standard. Just put it on standard, don't worry about it, but I'll briefly explain it. Put it on high will make the file sizes larger, thus the amount of hours that you'll get before the card fills out will be lower. And high does not really increase the quality of the video, so there's really no purpose in doing that. It's just a waste of space. Low, you can experiment with it. I don't particularly like it, but you can try it, and that will make file sizes smaller. Video clip length. When you have it on loop recording, you're only going to have these two options. The other options, 10, 15, and max, are going to be grayed out. So you have two selections, 3 and 5 minutes. 5 minutes makes more sense to me than 3 minutes. You know, especially if you're wanting to piece together clips for a trip or whatever it may be. The longer the clip, the better. You know, so but there's not a lot of difference between 3 and 5, to be honest with you. So either one's fine. I keep it on 5. Always have. Wide dynamic range. What is that, right? That basically is the light. The ambient light changes dynamically, okay? Just like anything else, from daytime to nighttime to the lights on in your car and so on, the sun, whatever. If you have this off, it's going to look fine. So off is a fine setting. On is a kind of a middle ground setting, and it turns it on. And it will adjust the camera, it would just automatically adjust to the ambient light as it changes. And I've always kept mine on, and you see my videos, and it doesn't like flip back and forth from too dark and too bright. It works fine. Low light is for night, kind of like night situations at nighttime, for obvious reasons. So you may want to put one of your modes in low light and the other mode, like say put mode 2 on low light and mode 1 on the regular on, and then you can switch between them between day and night. I don't mess with that because the regular on works fine at night as well. Yeah, that's your call. Field of view. You see, it's a big box and it's a little bit complicated, but if you read it, you'll get it. Basic thing is the field of view is how wide it is from side to side, how many degrees you're getting, that you're obtaining from the lens, okay? So obviously wide is going to give you a larger field of view. If you put it on narrow, it's going to give you a smaller field of view. And the benefit of a smaller field of view is the objects are going to be larger. Wider field of view is things are going to look a little further away and be smaller. But for dash cams, in my opinion, you want the field of view to be as wide as possible without looking distorted. So I always keep it on wide myself. That's what I recommend. Video resolution, it's your call in here between 1080p and 720p. I keep mine on the highest resolution. Why not? It is a larger file size, but that's what I recommend. You can try 720p to see if that's satisfactory for you. That will produce a smaller file size, so that does have some sort of advantage. I wouldn't even bother with 848 by 480. Video frame rate, you know what this means, but keep mine on 30 frames per second, and I believe that's the default. The human eye, the best of my recollection, can start to detect chop when you get under about 20 to 23 frames per second, okay? And I believe movies are recorded in 23.97, something like that, right around 24 frames per second. So you could technically, I believe, go down to 25 and it would look smooth. But 30 is pretty much kind of an industry standard for video, you know. So that's what I recommend. It does. The higher the frames per second, the larger the file size. I will say 60 frames per second is not really going to look any better, so it's just going to make a bigger file, and in my opinion it doesn't make a difference. You can experiment with it and find your own, but I think you'll find that 30 frames per second is what you like. Time-lapse video, irrelevant, completely irrelevant. I just keep it off, and you can read up on it, but it has nothing to do with using it as a dash cam. Mode 2 has the exact same options as Mode 1, and this would only be used, I don't use it, but if you wanted to say change the dynamic range to low light, and so you could switch to Mode 2 at nighttime, you know, that's an option. Or say you wanted to put the video resolution on Mode 2 down to 720 to have a smaller file size, you could do that, and so on. And what happens is the Mobius camera itself has 3 buttons on it. It has, I don't know if this is showing up, but up top it has the record button, which is a camera. The middle button is the M, and the bottom button is the power button. So when it's in your car facing like this, you can press the middle button and it will switch between the modes, and the LED will change colors to verify that. So that's something you can use if you select to use it. Otherwise, if you're like me, I keep it in one mode, and it's kind of a hands-off deal, you know, because it's a dash cam. But that's your option. And remember back here on the power on default, this is where the mode is going to go into. Don't worry about photo mode, you're not using that, but you could have it go to Mode 2 when you turn your car on. I just say Mode 1, that's easiest to recall, and so it would automatically go to these settings when the car powers on. If you push that middle button, it will switch to these settings. If you want to go back, push the middle button again, it'll go to Mode 1. Make sense? Okay, photo mode, irrelevant to dash cam settings, so just don't even worry about it. Advanced image settings. For me, I have tinkered with them all, and always come back to the defaults: normal, 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 and auto for the white balance, because for me it always looks best just the way they've tuned it over time. But if you notice your video quality is a little has a little blue tint or a little red tint or a little green tint, or something's off about it, you've got the options to change it, you know, with sharpness, exposure, contrast, saturation, with the various color options, the white balance, and so on. And they do work, and they do make substantial changes to the video quality, so, or the video warmth, or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, you can play with that if you like. If you like me, I keep it on normal because it looks great. If you've seen my videos, you know that's what normal looks like. The lock is a new feature. I haven't even read this box, but I believe when you put the lock mode on, it locks it in where it's not, you can't change it by pushing buttons on the camera and so on. I don't know. Let me read it. Let's see. It enables or disables manual AE lock, AEL, automatic exposure lock. When the mode button is long pressed for 3 seconds, the exposure will be locked to the current automatic value. The AEL automatic exposure locked will remain locked until another mode is selected or the camera is turned off. If this parameter is not enabled, a long press of the mode button will be ignored. Consult the integrated Mobius manual for further information of the automatic exposure lock. I wouldn't bother with it. I'd keep it off. That's what I do. It's a new feature. So, you know, and that's all of the options that you need to worry about for your camera. As far as the GUI program itself, you have a button up here called Create Profile, and I recommend doing that. And you can create one and name it, say, DC for dash cam 3/4/15 for today's date, and save. And that's going to save all the options you just selected. So if for some reason they get reset, all you got to do is come here to the middle select that, and bam, go down here to set parameters, and it's going to set those options. Okay, you see the camera parameters have been successfully updated. You may now disconnect your camera. So for me to continue on with this, I'm going to have to disconnect the Mobius and reconnect it if I can. So reconnecting it, Mobius is reconnected, and it will pop up here shortly. There it is, and there's the camera. Okay, the other settings, help is self-explanatory. You have tools. You click on tools, it's going to bring up this dialog screen. Always connect to the internet, check for program updates. That's the actual graphical user interface program that we're dealing with here. I keep it on. It's not going to update anything. Neither one of these will automatically update anything. It's just going to check for you. The next one is to automatically check the internet for firmware, and that's for the firmware on the actual Mobius itself. Let's see. Down here, the in-camera format. Okay, I've used that a few times. I usually use it when I get a new SD card, just to go ahead and format it. If you use it any other time and you have information on your SD card that's been recorded, it will erase all of the contents, all of the contents. Program update. That's going to check and see if there is a new GUI program out there. If it is, I suggest you get it. It's pretty rare for a new one to come up, but recently there was a new one. I think in the last month or so. And then lastly, you have the firmware versions for your actual Mobius camera, and these do a great job in fixing bugs and adding features. You can see we started with 0.59 and we've worked up to version 2.33 now. This is the latest one. This is very new. It tells you what over here what it actually changed in each of the well, in the latest one it tells you what the firmware actually fixed or changed or added. I've been using 2.33 since it was released, and it is quite stable, so feel free to use that one if your camera doesn't already have it on there. When you select a firmware, you're going to click on the install button, and it's a very easy process. It is laid out. It'll pop up a dialog box telling you exactly what to do, and from memory it's something like it's going to tell you to disconnect the camera from the USB port, and it will tell you to wait for the blue light to blink so many times, and then basically you want to wait for all the lights to stop blinking on your Mobius, and then you plug it back in, if I recall correctly, and then it'll say basically a dialog box will pop back up whenever it's done, and you're done. It's very easy. It's pretty much foolproof, and that's it. So you exit that, and you can have two Mobiuses plugged into your computer port. If you have two, for example, and you would have two drives here, and you can select between them and change the values, and change that, and so on. And remember down here when you put in your Mobius, I recommend to click the set parameters. You have to click the set parameter button to enable the new settings that you have selected. Okay, it's kind of like the V1 or something when you push the new settings, if you're familiar with that. But anyways, you have to push that. It's kind of like the apply button. Alright, so I hope that helps you guys, and I know it's pretty much all self-explanatory, but maybe that helped just a little bit to clear some things up. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in a thread or PM me or whatever, and take care.